their financial picture. According to a survey from H&R Block, 2 in 3 Americans on average expect to have greater economic opportunities than their parents, and that includes 70% of Gen Z. Here with the details, we've got Curtis Campbell, H&R Block's president of Global Consumer Tax. Curtis, good to have you here on the program. Let's start with an overview. According to the survey, why are Americans optimistic?
Right, good to see you again. So a couple things. I'll highlight 2 points. Specifically, optimism is high across income levels and generations because wages are outpacing inflation. And you mentioned this, each generation feels better off than the last. The second piece I think is really important. There's a lot of buzz about rising costs and inflation. Debt's the real threat to American prosperity. Credit card debt and student loans feel unmanageable for most generations, especially Gen X, just like me, keeping a keen eye on trying to drive up their savings and paying off loans. I remember, Brad, my wife and I struggled with both undergrad and grad school debt for many, many years. So the struggle is real.
Yeah, no, we feel that. Something that came up in the survey was side hustles. And I was particularly interested in this part of the survey because it seems like we're leaning more and more towards an environment where people are understanding and appreciating the value of having multiple streams of income here. So what did you find here as part of this survey?
It's really interesting. The side hustle thing has become increasingly more popular. And we expect that trend to continue to grow. In the data that we looked at, Gen Z, a lot of them opt for creative, new ways to create income, especially in the way that they prioritize home buying, better health and wellness, and travel. It was really interesting. The number one side hustle across all age groups was answering surveys, followed by driving for an app like Uber and Lyft, and then testing and reviewing products. It's really interesting.
I also want to focus in here on Gen Z. I mean, already contributing to the workforce. Can we talk about how they are viewing financial success and what that's being measured on?
Yeah, it's a couple things. Gen Z, it's really interesting. We found that Gen Z is more innovative and financially savvy than most people might expect. This group is changing jobs at unprecedented rates, primarily to increase their salary. This group's also, they're masters of the side hustle, Brad, earning more by starting new businesses and following their passions, and they're investing in really cool and interesting ways.
And so with that in mind, for those of us who are, aspirational energy, Gen Z, if you will, how can we ensure that we are also deploying our time correctly to, be more ingenuitous about where we are kind of creating some of these side hustle opportunities and making sure that it's accelerating some of our retirement goals as well?
Well, I think there are a couple things to keep in mind as people tap into just more side hustles and things of that nature. Just keep in mind, a lot of these things have impacts to your taxes. So that's the number one thing. Just keep that in mind. They're both benefits and they're consequences. So I think the most obvious impact is as you take on more side hustles, it has the opportunity to increase your tax rate if your job change pushes you into a higher tax bracket. I think there are a lot of other tax benefits that may be less obvious, including potential job search and moving expenses and whatnot. What I will say, Brad, is H&R Block, we recommend checking your W-4 as you do pick up more side hustles and begin potentially new jobs. We provide an easy tool to enable consumers to see how these W-4 changes can impact their taxes.
Even as you think out to the future, a lot of Americans are trying to understand what type of policy changes may come in 2025. I wonder what you're advising clients right now who are trying to get ahead of their own tax planning and best configure their own both income, their payments that they're making, and any type of financial considerations going into some of those changes.
I think about a couple of things. Oftentimes people think that taxes are a retrospective view. I would encourage people to think about taxes proactively. There are many things that we can do as consumers to get prepared for taxes. You mentioned one in an earlier session, thinking about charitable contributions, right? Those can absolutely help so many people tax-wise, and they can help society as well. Thinking about contributing maybe a little bit more to your 401k can also be a thing that impacts you, not just in the near term from a tax perspective, but long term when you consider your retirement.
Curtis Campbell, H&R Block, President of Global Consumer Tax. Curtis, thanks so much for taking the time here with us today. I appreciate it.
So on our Ruthless, good to have you on board. Good to have you on board.
Hello,
So
what's going on, gentlemen? I'm gonna go last. Let me go last. I
Okay.
want to hear what Ronnie Rowan got to say.
Go ahead, Hakeem. We'll start with you first, man. What's your take about the economy and finances in 2025 when it comes to the economy?
Um, I think it's gonna get better. I just think the side hustle part has just been popularized amongst just mainstream media, but in the black community and the Hispanic community, all of us had a side hustle. Most of our dads came after work on the weekends, went and cut yards and washed cars. That was something essential. Or somebody was selling perfume or watches or CDs. You know what I mean? We've all the side hustle people. It's just a little bit popularized. I do think he is also right about that. Gen Z is more financially savvy than us, but they was born and raised to all these new technologies, Cash App, Venmo, PayPal. You know what I mean? Ways of they're making money. This to create an economy. So it's a little bit different compared to the when we growed up. We had to get it off the muscle. So, you know, man, I'm very hopeful, and I'm hopeful for me to get into business ventures that can lead me to another round. You know what I mean? If the gas price go down, we can get it popping. Hey, listen, I want to get a new Audi like Ruthless.
No, but shout out to Gen Z because they found a new way to earn money and a new way to hustle. I'm looking at the chart now and say jobs Harper's are 30% close to 35% increase in diversified 51% plan to monetize a hobby. I talk to people about this all the time. I keep telling people there's a lot of money in your hobby. A lot of money in your hobby. Even the small things you like to do. If you can find a way to monetize that, go ahead and do so. Money's in everything. I don't understand why people don't understand that. Money is in everything. Is in everything. Navigate, of course, investor 22% invested in crypto. That's a new thing now. I think a lot of people now, especially the younger generation, they understand the whole aspect of crypto because they understand that money, the currency as we know it, is starting to pretty much transition over to cryptocurrency. And I think even the older folks should be able to get into that, or not even if they don't want to put their money into it, try to understand it. Money is in everything. I think people got to get to that concept of the American dream is the American dollar. It pretty much is to be able to monetize anything you have within your belonging. If you have a great mind, if you have some form of intellect, use that and find a way to monetize that. And now that I think now a lot of people are starting to understand the streaming service now too. People are getting to YouTube, TikTok, on Bigo Live, and all these other things. That the younger generation are starting to get it, and I think the older generation are. Even though you say Hakeem was true, because my father did the same thing, but I think a lot of people from the older generation is slacking off a little bit. They need to get more current now in the new generation. They need to start monetizing more of their finances because even though the older generation understand the game plan, still the older generation, a lot of them are broke. You have some like Rufus that's making money or PhD, but they making money, but the number is very very small. So they need to get on board. Like I think they really need to get on board. So go right ahead, Rufus. Your commentary.
The poor will always exist and they will always be the majority. I don't give a fuck what country you in or how much savvy you is. The poor will always dominate the land. It's just the way it's always been. It's never going to change, right? So I would suggest to people, we do have to adapt in a mode of survival. The side hustle is to keep the cheat off, right? But the most financial advice I can give is don't marry a woman and don't bring a woman into your house.
Mm.
She will extract your resources and they argue with you after it's done about why you ain't making her happy. So I hate to say it, but a lot of dudes I say between 25 and 32, you get married, you lose. Unless you get lucky or something, because she will be a bill. So that's one. And two, have patience, especially black people, right? We don't need to do don't be like me. I do 10, 13 years in the pen, right? Chasing the bag, right? Have patience and learn money management, learn to be happy with and learn how to work learn to work with what you already got. That's what I was saying.
Personally, for me, it's just it's like I said, Haki says all the time. It's not a sprint; it's a marathon. When it comes to you building up a small businesses or starting up a YouTube page or anything like that, you don't go get money overnight or go viral overnight. It takes work and it takes process. And I think coming from looking at 2025 or how a lot of millennials and Generation Z's they're starting to look at side businesses and also making a plan to say, okay, I probably ain't gonna make, big money in 3, 4, 5 years, but if I can, make me a 10-year plan or 15-year plan of, to get to get to that goal, what I need to be is to make, really good money, I think, um, that could work out. But Will is right with one way. What he's saying, poor is always going to be poor because usually with the poor they have like a get rich cream, a get rich quick scheme mindset. Meaning, if I can do this, I can make big money less than a year or so. Or they've always followed these YouTube commercials of how you can make money in a matter of months, all that type of stuff. Which that kind of grabs with the poor and all that type of things as well. But this hopefully we have more people open up their minds, especially older generation about when it comes to businesses, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. It's going to take a while to make a plan and build a goal to make the much money as you can possibly make.
And
Here with
let's
this
be clear about
podcast.
that. Be clear
Yeah.
about that. Brother. Most 90% of business fail in the 5 years.
Mhm.
So you have 5% chance to make it.
Right.
This is why is always I've heard this to buy an existing business that's already running and proven concept. There's tons
Yeah,
of
that's why you're
businesses.
investing. Yeah, that
Yeah,
way you invest in the S&P 500 and the stock market because those are businesses that have been around more than
But
5 years.
you gotta have money to do that. You have to have a lot of money to do that. Stock markets is for people with money to play with. They got money to burn, not for somebody who's working for overtime, trying to get a little extra. Don't you dare put that money in there.
No, I disagree because I think marriage. I disagree because you gonna always find a company that you can because right now they got something called split stocks. You can be able to invest in a small portion of the company, even though you don't have to invest in like a whole bunch on one single stock. Prime example: if I want to invest in Tesla and it's a split stock, and right now the split stock is on sale for $50, why not put my $50 in there? Later, when pretty sure I'll be able to hold one full stock. So that's the whole point. There's ways, bro. There's ways to make money, man. I'm telling you.
I'm not
There's
saying
ways. There's always ways.
I'm not saying that it's not possible. But the only way you make money in stock game is you got to have to put in a lot to get back a lot, right? If you put in a little bitty, itty bitty, tiny bit, you put $50 in, what you think gonna get out? What's that gonna come back in 5 years? $500-$600? I mean, come on. Unless you get
No, but
really
if you keep putting 50, 50, 50, 50, 50, 50 every time you get paid, 50, 50. Some people get paid weekly.
Yeah,
not everybody get paid bi-weekly. Go ahead.
But at the same time, right? That's a gamble.
Yeah, it is. Of course.
So for me, it's just saying, right? It's a gamble. So all I'm saying is, this is what I say to guys all the time, right? And you know what? I say this to guys the most at the strip club. You know what I say about strip clubs? Strip club is a rich man game that poor people try to play. See what I'm saying? Same with stock markets and gambling. Gambling, shit like that is rich people game that poor people try to play. Right? So once again, right? Them $50 mean a lot, homie. Even one $50 bill means a lot to a family who's at the borderline, right, between poor, middle. That $50 goes a long fucking way. I don't know. Well, you must got big money, Ronnie. Talking about, oh, that $50 I can just put up for the next. No, that every dollar counts when you're not in the top percentage. It counts.
No, the whole aspect is I think if you know how to budget. The one thing about Americans, we don't know how to budget. We overspend money that we don't have, and chances are when we actually do when we actually do budget, you find out you really do have extra money.
No. The women don't know how to budget. Let's be clear. The men, we okay, right? We budget and we manage our money the best. The women are the highest consumers. They go out and just buy everything. They see it, touch it, it's going in that bag, and crutch it, right? So once again, we got to keep things real, right? As a unit, though, this is why the family's breaking up so much. This is why the divorce rate is high, because women don't want to comply to the big picture. They want that Louis Vuitton bag, right? You said no, baby, because we got to put this away and this mature. We need all this for this, and I'll maybe get to you 2 or 3 years down. Hell, right? And they start complaining. Well, I can't get. Then they start looking at Instagram, right? Then they start looking at their friends. Don't let a friend show up with a new Louis bag. Hey, baby, look, my man got me. Ooh, with the one snap, right? It's a wrap. She's looking at you crazy now. She ain't saying nothing, but well, you better get me. See, so that's what I'm saying.
But Instagram ain't real life, Rufus. I don't know why women think like that, because Instagram is not real life.
This is what you're missing, Jordan. Women live in a delusion, their delusion. And that's what rules their minds. So Instagram is alive to them. For us men, that's why we're not big consumers of like them, right? We're more realistic. We live in reality. We don't live in a delusion. Although we are delusional about our women, I agree with that. But when it comes to survival, economic, and we're not gangbanging or selling drugs, we are economically efficient.
I agree. No disagreement there. No disagreement there. I agree. Shout out to Sean Antonio that's watching us on Instagram. Shout out to D Meach.